So today I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible, and it's a really effective tool that you can use for your health, whatever that goal is. Most people I work with, we're looking at fat loss. Other than that, it would be hormonal health. Now, those two things go hand in hand with any health goal you're working with. You need to be looking at hormonal health. So I'm not just talking about sexual hormonal health and female hormonal health. You have total control over what you eat. Total control. And when it comes to emotional eating or binge eating, whatever you want to call it, I'm not going to be talking about coronavirus or stockpiling or anything like that. I want to keep separate today. Read into whatever I say as you will, and please don't take anything I say as gospel, but I just hope that I might say something that may help. In terms of control over what you eat, look, when it comes to emotional eating is one of the smartest things that you can possibly do. If you feel bad, if you feel sad, if you're upset or angry and you turn to food, well, that makes total sense. It's very logical. If you don't feel great, you eat something that makes you feel better. Why wouldn't you want to feel better? That is a smart thing to do. Where you step into problems is that if you're eating food to mask a different problem, you have to eat that food 24/7, because the problem's never going to go away. The real problem will never go away unless you address that head on. If you're using food to mask it, that's fine. If you can eat it constantly and not stop, then that's fine. But there does come a point where you're full and you can't keep eating, when another problem's going to come in. You're going to feel stuffed, you're going to feel bloated, you might feel guilty, and then you've got the food problem and the underlying issue still there. So please don't beat yourself up when you're emotionally or angry or whatever you want to call it. Just know that you're doing that for a reason. Look at what the underlying reason is and look at how can you address that and can you do something about it. And we don't always have control over everything, but we do have a choice. You can always minimise the damage in some way to get closer towards reaching your goal. And it starts with go-to meals and off-piste meals. Now, I know a lot of you are probably already thinking, what am I going to eat? What am I going to buy? What can I actually buy at the moment? So I appreciate that your go-to meals, which I'll explain in more detail if you don't already know what it is, they might be different to what they usually are, they have been in the past. But you need to identify 2 to 4, let's just say 3 for now, 2 meals that you know work for you. That you know work for you in getting closer towards your goal. For today, I'm going to talk about fat loss, but you might want to eat for better fitness performance, better sleep. There's loads and loads of different types of foods that will help with that. But essentially, don't jump on this diet or that diet. Just eat whole, natural foods that haven't been processed. If it's real food, then you can't really go too wrong from that. So a few go-to meal ideas. Like I said, don't follow, my diet. If I say you should be eating, if I offer advice or I suggest why don't you eat, an avocado salad or even a chicken salad, that doesn't mean that you have to eat a chicken or an avocado salad. You need to choose the foods that you know that work for you, and there's no point in choosing something that you don't like. Please, there's so much food available. Work with the foods that you enjoy, work with the foods that you love, work with the foods that make you feel good, unless it's a chocolate donut. But I will get on to chocolate donuts, we're not cutting that out completely. Go-to meal examples. So I'll just suggest what is a go-to meal for me. It might be a juice. If you know or have heard of Jason Vale or you've got some of his books, they are probably some of the best juicing books that you can find. There are so many in there, it would be impossible not to find a juice recipe that you didn't like. And I like them all. I think they're brilliant. So it might be a juice. This is not specific enough to simply say juice. You have to know exactly what juice that would be. I've got a lot of different go-to juices that I love. For me, I keep it quite simple actually. I'll do a little bit of plain celery juice or red grapefruit juice. It is absolutely delicious on its own. If you mix grapefruit juice with something else, then it's just going to be blech. Other juice recipes, you might want to look in different recipe books and put something together. I've gone really, really simple recently just because I think I'm really busy and I just work with one ingredient when I'm doing something like that to feed myself on a cellular level. I appreciate that we've not all got juices and some of us don't even like juice, but that is a very, very simple tool to have that in the morning, first thing, you can have something like that. Another go-to meal for me is the salad bowl. I actually call it the silver salad bowl. I wish I had it here, I'd show you. I have a massive silver mixing bowl and I just put in all of the things I love. It's really important that I put it into that bowl rather than just put it straight on the plate, because then when I dress it and I then serve it on the plate, it's much more delicious, much more exciting, and it feels a little bit more like I've had that meal in a restaurant. So I'm far more likely to eat less, far less likely to overeat. So you take your favourite ingredients and put them in the salad bowl, and it might vary, but generally for me, I've got rocket, I've got avocado, some chickpeas, or some sprouts actually. You might want to put chicken or fish in there, that's absolutely fine. Ideally, don't be mixing different animal products. Various reasons for that. From my perspective, from my practice, the reason I say don't mix different meats and fish, etc., is that you're just creating more opportunity to overeat of all these different ingredients. You know what it's like when you go to a buffet. What else do I have? I have tomatoes. Fresh, maybe sun-dried. I'll put seeds in there. Cucumber. And then I dress it. So it's really important that I have sea salt. You can have pink Himalayan rock salt if you want, ground black pepper, GBP, and some olive oil, or some balsamic vinegar. I try to make it different each time, just so it, is a bit more exciting. If you wanted to cook something and put some roasted vegetables on top of it, you absolutely could. That is a really, really simple salad bowl. You just chuck everything in, but when you then get it out of the bowl with 2 spoons and put it on the plate, it's much more exciting. And I'm sorry if I'm teaching anyone to suck eggs, but yeah, it's available if you didn't already know about that. Number 3 for me is a curry, sweet potato dal. It goes down really well when people come around, and it's really, really easy to make. If you want that recipe, it's on my website. You can get that easily, and the website is written down in the link on this post. So know what your go-to meals are. See here, you've got a liquid meal, it might be a juice or a smoothie. I've got a raw dish, salad, cold food, cold vegetables. Notice how most of the ingredients are vegetables. And then I've got a hot dish, which is a sweet potato dal. For you, it might be a soup. I'm going to put soup down as well. Again, to simply say soup is not specific enough. What kind of soup? If you vaguely go into a supermarket and say, I'm going to buy some food today, you spend ages standing in the middle of the aisles, faffing, wasting time, not quite sure what to get. Or you just buy everything, and if you're anything like me, you end up eating it all pretty quick. So be very, very clear. What kind of soup is it? My mum makes an amazing, very, very hearty and yet light bean soup with courgette and kale. I don't know what she calls it. I don't know if she got the recipe out of the book or she just made it on the spot. But if anyone wants that recipe, then just drop me a line in the comments, and I'll get my mum to type it up. And I'm doing that like she's here. She's probably going to arrive any moment and make a noise because she doesn't know I'm doing this. For her to share that with you guys. So they're your go-to meals. Now this doesn't mean this is all you eat for the rest of your life. But these recipes, these dishes, knowing that you like them, knowing that these types of foods keep you on track to reaching your goal, means that on those days you're like, I don't know what to eat, you've got options already there at your fingertips. So you're not going to waste time to the point where you're starving and then you choose the wrong thing, which is going to keep you farther from your goal. Because ultimately this is all about making a choice. And if you're not sure what choice to make, just ask yourself the question, does this decision, does this choice, does this food item, does doing or not doing this activity get me closer to my goal or take me further from my goal? That's the question, that's all it comes down to. And then you have the choice as to whether you're going to get closer to your goal or farther from it. It's also important to know what the goal is, by the way. You might not have one, that's fine, but if you're working towards something, be really, really clear with what you'd like to achieve. Otherwise you're never going to get there. It's like if you've got a builder coming in to do some work and you tell him, well, I don't want a kitchen extension, I don't want a loft extension, I don't want you to do the garden, and I don't want a conservatory, and I definitely don't want new carpets, but do your job. You can't be upset with him if he knocks the whole house down and builds something different, because you never told him the picture that you did want him to paint. So they're the go-to meals, and then here is off-piste meals. For your off-piste meal, it's something that I call it's like a cheat meal or a treat meal if you want to call it that. It's the food that you do want to have but actually you don't want to have, but deep down you really, really want to have it. It might be the food that creates a lot of guilt in you, keeping you from having it, and then a super amount of guilt once you've actually had it. So really, you never properly end up enjoying it. Lots and lots of people I work with, they take a long time to figure out what their off-piste meal is, because they've distanced themselves so much from eating the foods that they think are bad from them. In fact, they've distanced themselves so much that when they do eat them and indulge in them, which can be every day sometimes, they almost try to pretend it never happened. It often happens alone, when no one else is in the house, on the way back home from the supermarket, all that sort of thing. So off-piste meal, what do I mean by that? You need to decide. You need to decide. It could be a burger with the bacon and the cheese and the chips, if you eat meat. It might also have the New York cheesecake with it, and the raspberry sauce. And would it be rude not to have ice cream with that? And ice cream. Now, some of you will look at that and think, that is not my kind, that is nothing near my idea of a cheat meal or a treat meal or an off-piste meal. That's fine. You need to decide your idea of an off-piste meal. By the way, I'm not encouraging you to have this as often as you have these go-to meals, yeah? Just go with me on this. Another example of an off-piste meal, you might say, well, I'll go to the pizza restaurant and I'll have the leggera style. I'll have the light version, the healthy version of. No, that doesn't work. It's not about having half the pizza and the salad. I want you to go full on, fully fledged, totally off-piste. Total idea of a guilty meal, treat meal. For you, it might even be, I'm going to buy a bar of chocolate, have a custard tart, I would still probably combine that with a main meal as well. So I'll put main meal at the top. You need to work with whatever it is you love, that you've been trying to cut out from your life, that you haven't quite succeeded doing all the time. This is a way that you can actually have it without creating guilt. So please, please, please don't say you're going to have an off-piste meal that's actually kind of healthy version of, that completely defeats the object. What is off-piste eating? So for the people who are skiers, off-piste, if you're going to go off-piste skiing, you want to make sure you've got the right equipment, you know the route, and you've got a good guide. If you don't know where you're skiing, if you're going off-piste, it's dangerous. You have to plan the trip, 100%. Also, you have to plan exactly how you're going to get back on-piste, onto the regular slopes. So this is your off-piste meal. You've planned it, you know exactly what it's going to be, one or the other, or your choice of whatever your idea of an off-piste meal is. And you have to, like with an off-piste skiing trip, ski run, you have to decide exactly when you're going to have it, on what terms, exactly where, exactly who you're with, etc. If you haven't planned everything about it, then it's not a plan, yeah? If you say I'm just going to go out skiing in the middle of nowhere, vaguely in the French mountains, you're going to get yourself into trouble. You must plan every stage of it. It's important that you have a get back on-piste meal. So let's just say you're going out on Friday night, or you're staying in, you're on the sofa and you get a takeaway. What should we say? Let's put Chinese takeaway. And you have to be clearer than that. You have to say exactly what it's going to be. Is it the lemon chicken, the prawn balls? And it's got to be something you actually enjoy. Don't just have whatever you think the other person would like. And maybe you have chocolate cake and ice cream. Now you've planned this at least 3 days in advance, ideally 5 days in advance. Sunday night, before you even get to Monday, you've put in your Friday night off-piste meal. Stop calling it a cheat meal, actually enjoy it. And by planning it in this way, this allows you to have it and not feel guilty about it, and still reach your goal as you go along with whatever fitness goals you're working with. So this is planned in here. Now the beauty of planning and knowing when and exactly what your off-piste meal is going to be, every meal leading up to it is going to be far easier to stay on-piste and on track knowing you've got something lovely coming. Because there's nothing worse than getting to that off-piste meal and already feeling bloated, This is a way of being able to have it and not feeling so stuffed by the end of it. Once you've put your off-piste meal in, it's really important you plan your get back on-piste meal. Now here it might be something so simple as, I'm going to have a juice Or you might have the whole food version of what goes in your juice. It could be avocado with tomatoes, seasoned really, really well, and maybe some grilled mushrooms. If you're asking about, oh, what about bread? I'll save that for another video. So I've got so much to talk about bread. We are all gluten intolerant at the end of the day, but we're all supposed to be able to tolerate it. It's our gut issues, gut health issues that get in the way and cause us more, and can be one of the reasons why we're having all this damage and all these reactions. So you've put in your off-piste, you've put your get back on piste. By having planned your get back on piste, you know you're going to get straight back on it and out of the red and into the green. And then you fill the rest of the chart as you go along. Now, as you can see, I've got these meals here, 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. I'd rather have 3 boxes. Everyone eats differently. Some of you have 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, 3, 4, 5, 6 meals a day. I know some of you are grazers. I don't mean to cause offence, but unless you're an athlete or a bodybuilder, and even then, if you're having more than 4 meals a day or grazing, very often the reason for that is because you're not eating enough at meal times. We tend to come from this place of, oh, I had too much the night before, so I'll have less at breakfast. And before you even get to lunch, you're starving, so you end up snacking in between. So you're constantly oscillating between this place of holding back and fasting a bit, and then feasting because you starved yourself. This can often happen with intermittent fasting as well. Again, I'll save that for another video. If you do want more videos, please just drop a comment in the box below, because I'll put a link to how you can sign up for that later. So you may decide to intermittent fast, you might not some mornings. I leave that up to you to fill in. But the point is, where you know that this is coming, and actually, you know what, you might have a little slip. Doris might bring a cake in, it's her birthday, on Wednesday afternoon. You might have something naughty there. You know what, you might end up having a glass of wine one night. It can get a little bit dangerous if you keep having all these little treats. Try to use this planned off-piste to your advantage so that you don't indulge in these ways. But once you've got this to focus on, and you've filled in the rest of the chart with your go-to meals, ideally 3 meals a day and no snacks. If you've got a rule of no snacks, then you're less likely to treat yourself, you know, and you stick to the plan. If you've planned this off-piste, and yeah, even with these 2 slips, once you've filled in the rest with the good stuff, your go-to meals are things that you know to work to keep you on the goal. Actually, rather than thinking, oh, I've ruined it, I had the cake, I had the alcohol, crap, I've had the Chinese takeaway, I've just ruined it, I'm going to have to start again tomorrow. No, look at it from this perspective instead. You planned your off-piste meal here. You made a choice whether or not to indulge in the cake, whether or not to indulge in the alcohol. But if you filled in the rest of the blanks with your go-to meals, the things you know that work for you and keep you on track, well, forget about these 3 meals that technically ruined it. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 other opportunities to get it right. So for those 3 meals or snacks or treats that might have ruined it, if you got the other 18 opportunities right, you will stay on track. Use the foods that work for you, use the foods you enjoy. This might be a time to experiment with new recipes. Get the old books out that you've got on the bookshelf. Get stuff online. This is a great book. This is Dr. Rupi Aujla. If you've got any of Jason Bell's books, they're fantastic. I haven't got any here because I've lent them to my mates. If you've got my raw desserts book, use that. I'm not selling that anymore, but I will put something together soon. And the body cleanse, if you have a copy of this at home, then use it. I've got it online for free now. So if you head on over to the website, victoriaadams.co.uk, just pop your email address on the website and this will wing its way over to you. The recipes here are mainly plant-based, but there is an option to add meat on the side. So even with your go-to meals, when you're feeding your family and friends, you know, you could use your go-to meals, but then if you've got the husband at home or kids at home that want their meat with it, or they want, you know, some fish fingers or something battered or something that you know is not conducive to your goal, you make them this as a base and then you simply add the extras on top for them. It means they still get a little bit of what they want and you're not having to eat the things that maybe you do want, but you know aren't going to help you out in the long term.